Yes, I got Ernie Hudson on the line with me right now. Ernie, I am such a huge fan. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us here today at Tunes. How's the day find you, friend?
You know, today is it's a rainy day where I am, but it's still a beautiful day, so I'm fine.
I have to admit, before we start talking about everything current, being such a big fan of yours, I'm a little nervous. I watched every episode of Oz at least 3 times. How was it playing Warden Glynn?
You know, to me, Warden Glynn was, he was a conflicted man because you want to be a certain way, but you got a prison to run. And so a lot of people, or I've been told by people, that he was a real jerk. I never saw that character that way. I just felt that he's in a prison, for God's sake. So for me, it was a wonderful character. But even as an actor, I'd have young actors coming in who were always sort of in my face, and you almost had to be a little bit strong, at times intimidating, to do what you needed to do to maintain control. So I was talking to someone earlier, and they were saying that they were disappointed because it wasn't like the guy in Ghostbusters. Well, the guy in Ghostbusters couldn't run a prison. So I liked Warden Glynn, but his job was difficult. We had murders everywhere. He never saw one murder. I mean, so the guy had a hard job.
Every episode, 3 people died.
I know. And he was going to get to the bottom of it, and he never does.
I need to see some evidence. I remember that too.
I mean, so you got to, okay, how do you play this and still not be an idiot and not totally be a jerk, but the guy just killed somebody, so,
years ago, I spoke with Chucky from that. Chucky, I can't remember his last name, the Hells Angels biker.
Oh, yeah. Zito.
Chuck Zito. I spoke to him a few years ago, and it was such a diverse cast, but everybody got along. Am I correct?
Yeah, in fact, I was joking around with Chuck. We were talking on the set, and I was sort of kidding him and just kind of goofing off, and everybody was like, his followers, I guess he had followers who were there in the cast, and they were like, oh my God, you said that to Chuck. I'm like, what are you talking about? It was like they were just so in awe. This is Chuck. I'm like, I don't know, so
you also
apparently he's this mythical giant of a figure in somebody's mind, but he was always just a really cool guy and a lot of fun to sort of work with, as were all the guys to me. Now, their relationships were, even though we'll say I'd walk on the set, and when I'd get to the set, everybody was very pleasant, but by the time I put on my Warden Glynn suit and shined my shoes and walked out on the set, suddenly nobody spoke to me, so I guess the character was convincing.
Our listeners, of course, will know you from such great movies as The Crow and Airheads and No Escape, but you also worked with a very young Leonardo DiCaprio in the Basketball Diaries, correct?
Yeah, it was one of the movies I feel, really proud of. I think Leonardo was great in that movie. I think the movie was a little bit before its time. I don't think America was ready to see young white kids strung out on drugs in the inner city, but Leo was really, really good in that movie and should have gotten some attention, but I'm glad to see he finally won an Academy Award anyway.
Well, one of the new things you're working on, please tell us about the Netflix show with Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, Grace, and Frankie. What is your part in that show? Yeah,
well, it's about these two couples who've been together for a long time, and then after many years of marriage, the husbands, we find out, has had an affair, and they've fallen in love with each other, and they want to come out and get married. And so the wives are having to move forward in their lives. And I play a guy who becomes a friend of Lily Tomlin's and eventually a love interest, but they just have a great relationship, and it's sort of unfolding as we go along. I do maybe 3 episodes in the first season, maybe 7 or 8 out of the 13 in the second season, and now we just started shooting the third season.
What do you do to go into shooting? How are your days? Is it basically, I've always heard that you're in a trailer and you spend like 6 hours and then you come out for like 5 minutes of scene. Is that true?
Sometimes, yeah, especially if you don't have a lot to do in the scene. If the scene is yours and you got a lot of dialogue and there are a lot of things that sort of, because the thing is, if it's only 5 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, you've got to be on point when it's time to be on point. You know what I mean? It's like it's in that moment, everything has to be there. So even if you've been sitting for 12 hours, you can't come out like, I got to get into it. You got to be there when it's time to be there, and then maybe that's the hardest thing for some people to deal with. You know, you don't. There's no time to sort of ease into it, and no matter how long it takes to get it done, you still got to bring your best. So because nobody will see all the takes in between.
We're speaking with Ernie Hudson, the great actor. Ernie, to me, you have never aged. How do you stay so fit?
Well, it helps to not gain the weight. That's the hardest thing. I mean, finally, I was walking past a mirror and accidentally caught a glimpse of myself and went, "Oh my God, no!" So at some point, you have to tell yourself, "No, I wouldn't join Weight Watchers and drop 25 pounds." I think I've never let my weight get too out of control. It does help to. I got one of those Fitbits, so I walk my 10,000 steps in. You do what you can. You know, the old days of I'm going to go to the gym and work out every day, that's not going to happen.
Well, I said, when on Oz, you were always hitting the punching bag. Are you into boxing a little bit, or?
Well, I used to fight Golden Gloves when I was a kid, and then, like I said, I did Great White Hope, which was boxing. So I love boxing. I used to think I was actually very good at it, but and I think it's a great workout. So I've done those kind of workouts over the years. But and I have a punching bag actually in my home gym, so I still do. But I don't do anything on such a regular basis that I can go, this is how I, And I've been very blessed to just have, I guess, good genes as
good
well.
genetics there.
Yeah,
you did have some arms on you. I remember that in Oz. What can we see from you in Ghostbusters 3?
Well, Ghostbusters 3, obviously all the Ghostbusters are girls, ladies. And we all, me, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver, we come back and do cameos. But they're the Ghostbusters, and I loved working with the girls. They got a great chemistry. They were very, very kind and generous to me. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I know there's been a lot of criticism of the trailer, and but I think that's just, people, the idea of it. But I think once the movie comes out and people see what it actually is, that's going to all go away.
Yeah, it's sure to be one of the summer blockbusters, and that's just basically nerds. That's just nerds with time on their hands on a computer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, friend, for taking the time to talk to us today. I appreciate it. It's such an honor, man. I'm a big fan.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Great talking to you. Just good luck with everything you're doing. Hey, this is Ernie Hudson, Winston from Ghostbusters, and you're listening to Tunes 92.5.